Eric Ross, Public Information Officer for the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office. We're here today to talk briefly about an incident concerning a now former Englewood police officer stemming from a traffic stop that occurred back in October of last month. We're first going to hear from District Attorney Amy Padden, the elected District Attorney for Arapahoe County, followed by Englewood Police Chief David Jackson. Please hold your questions until the very end. We will leave plenty of time to get your questions answered. I will first introduce District Attorney Amy Padden.
Good morning. We're here today to discuss charges that my office has filed against former Englewood Police Officer Ryan Scott Vicina. Mr. Vicina surrendered himself on the arrest warrant yesterday. In that warrant, my office set forth 3 charges: second-degree assault, third-degree assault, and first-degree official misconduct. The facts that I will discuss here are contained in that publicly available affidavit in support of the arrest warrant, and I will limit my comments to that public information. This case arose out of a traffic stop in Englewood on October 8th of 2025. Vicina was on patrol and stationary on that evening when an Audi convertible drove past him. He decided to follow that vehicle, and while following it, Vicina observed the driver failing to stop at a stop sign. He activated his overhead lights to conduct a traffic stop. The driver pulled over and rolled down his window when Vicina asked him to do so. Vicina asked the driver for his driver's license, but there appeared to be a language barrier between the two of them as the driver did not speak English well. The driver asked why he was stopped, but Vicina did not answer him, nor did he pause the contact to get an interpreter. Vicina asked the driver to turn off his car, which he did. Vicina asked the driver to give him the keys, and the driver asked why. Vicina did not respond. Vicina then opened the driver's side door and ordered the driver out of the car. He then reached towards the driver. Vicina then pulled out a taser and told the driver in English that he was going to tase him. Approximately 1 second later, Vicina deployed that taser, hitting the driver and causing him pain. Vicina then took the driver to the ground in a chokehold maneuver by placing his left forearm against the driver's neck. The driver could not breathe during that time. The chokehold lasted approximately 12 seconds. Law enforcement's use of a chokehold is expressly forbidden by Colorado law as set forth in revised statute 18-1-707. After the driver was released from the chokehold, the driver complained about his neck and asked for water. Vicina did not give him any water. During the interaction, Vicina is heard yelling and swearing at the driver. He never answers the driver's questions about why he's being asked for his license or his keys. Vicina never contacts an interpreter to assist with interpreting the conversation between the two of them. The driver did not resist, fight, or fail to comply with any lawful order before force was used against him. After the incident, the driver was treated medically for being tased. He was later photographed with bruising around his neck, is evident in those photographs. The arrest warrant sets forth 3 charges again, and formal charges will be filed by my office shortly. The charges in the arrest warrant are second-degree assault strangulation, which is a Class 4 felony, third-degree assault, which is a Class 1 misdemeanor, and first-degree official misconduct, which is a Class 1 misdemeanor. The highest charge, the felony assault charge, carries a possibility of 2 to 8 years in the Department of Corrections. Please note that the defendant is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. I want to thank Englewood PD for recognizing the concerns about what occurred in this case and the need for an outside independent investigation. That investigation was commenced by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, who I also want to recognize and thank them for their initial work in this case. From our office, I want to thank Lonnie Chavez, who's been the primary investigator since our office took this matter over, as well as ADA Brackley and Chief Deputy District Attorney Christy Hayden, who are with me here today and have been working on this matter. I will now turn this over to Chief David Jackson of Englewood Police Department.
I have a few remarks and then happy to take questions. When we were made aware of this incident and reviewed the body camera footage, the case was immediately referred to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation that same day. The internal affairs detective who viewed the video found it concerning and immediately alerted command staff, which shows that we have a strong culture of accountability in reporting misconduct. An internal affairs detective was reassigned from all other duties to solely focus on this matter. The officer was placed on administrative leave and never worked another shift for the Englewood Police Department. He is no longer a city employee. The officer was employed by the Englewood Police Department from November of 2024 until October of 2025. The Englewood Police Department has fully cooperated and collaborated with the CBI and the District Attorney's Office throughout this investigation to ensure an independent and thorough review. The investigation was sent to an unbiased third-party law enforcement agency because transparency and fairness are critical. The Englewood Police Department will continue to support the criminal process and provide any assistance requested by the CBI or the district attorney. We are implementing adjustments to our scheduling system to ensure closer supervision and greater accountability. Additional training will also be provided to reinforce expectations around de-escalation, communication, and lawful use of force. After the murder of George Floyd in 2020, the city of Englewood undertook one of the first police reform initiatives in the state with a resident task force recommending 34 accountability measures, focusing on improving community interactions and de-escalation. This type of conduct is a stain on the profession and is not reflective of the Englewood Police Department or the people who serve our community with honor. Our community expects professionalism and compassion with those who wear our badge, and that expectation will not change. Does have any questions or anything else? Yes. He has no disciplinary actions. He has no disciplinary actions.
Are you going to be reviewing his past body-worn camera footage for other incidents like this?
We have seen some of his past body-worn camera footage, and so far we don't have any issues at this point.
Chief, where did he come from before being employed by Englewood Police?
The Colorado State Patrol.
And did he participate in the George Floyd type training that you mentioned? Did he take any classes to learn about de-escalation tactics?
Our de-escalation is laid out in policy. Our expectation of de-escalation is laid out in policy. He was employed after the George Floyd incident. He was employed here in 2024.
So it wouldn't be like a class, it'd be a policy book they would have read and should have understood then, right?
That's correct.
Chief, going forward, how are you making sure officers can overcome language barriers?
I think it's important to note that in this case, a Spanish-speaking officer was en route to the scene. We also have interpretation services available to officers at all times. I think it's important to note that there is not a lack of services available. This was a lack of compliance on the part of the officer.
Chief, I want to follow up on Cynthia's question. You came from the Colorado State Patrol, it's a lateral transfer. What sort of training does a lateral transfer go through with Englewood? Is there an FTO process, or are they on the street right?
That's right. So he came in November of 2024. He was with a field training officer until about March of 2025, and then he was in a solo status from March until October of this year.
And then, if I'm reading the affidavit correctly, the running of the stop sign occurred after the officer had already activated his lights. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is not correct. He he was behind the
Right.
driver, and he failed to stop for a stop sign. That's when the activation occurred.
Okay. Did anything?
He was
that-
behind him when that occurred,
Right.
but he hadn't activated his lights yet.
Prior to that, the only thing I read is a brake tap captured by the body cam by the young man. But I guess my question is, did anything that the man driving the Audi do warrant the response that came from Officer Messina?
No, and that's why we're here today.
Chief, you mentioned some scheduling adjustments coming out of this. What are those and how could they have prevented this from
Let's
happening?
go into what we call a teams concept, where a supervisor, right now, officers' days off are picked on seniority basis. And what we are doing is putting our officers on a set days off schedule with the same supervisor every time, so that that supervisor has closer relationships to his officers and can therefore, his or her officers, and can therefore provide greater accountability and supervision.
Was Vecina under a different supervisor when this happened, as opposed to?
He was under his regular night shift supervisor at that time.
Okay, so is that related to this incident, or is that just a general?
No, that's just a general, we constantly look for ways to improve our performance, and that was something that we identified to improve our performance unrelated to this issue.
Was the body-worn camera footage reviewed the same day as the incident?
I actually don't know the answer to that, but what I will say is, and I'm glad that you asked this question, so let me provide a little bit more specific timeline on this. This incident occurred, as District Attorney Patton said, on October 8th, which was a Wednesday. On Monday night, October 13th, a few days later, 5 days later, at 11:15 at night, I got an email about this. The next morning, I had a staff meeting, and I asked about this incident because I had gotten an email about it, and talked to the commander of our Professional Standards Bureau, who oversees internal affairs investigations, and he had assured me they had already gotten the complaint on the 9th. So the video had not been watched yet because we had started a administrative review of some of the other things to get some of this stuff in place, but the detective had not actually watched the video until that Tuesday.
Chief, did the,
And, I'm sorry to interrupt, whether or not it was reviewed at the scene by the sergeant, I don't know. I know that we encourage our officers to watch it prior to writing the report.
And was that email you got from your command staff or from an outside party?
It's from an outside party.
did the person who was stopped file a complaint, or did someone file a complaint on his behalf?
He came to the station with two loved ones.
Chief,
When, was that a couple of days afterwards, or?
No, it was on the 9th, the day after the stop.
Chief, can you talk about the importance of dash cam video? A lot of departments don't have dash cameras, and it seems like in this case, you really needed the dash cam to fully understand what happened. The body cam is always, close contact view is not the same, all that sort of stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, what I would say is I can't speak for other police agencies.
Right.
What I will tell you is that the city of Englewood has invested heavily in officer accountability and ensuring that we have good citizen contacts. And as a police department and as a city, we think that recording these stops with body-worn camera and with dash cam footage is paramount. And I would agree with you. I don't think that either one of those would show the extent of the seriousness of this incident. I would agree.
And then can you tell me what your personal reaction was when you watched the video the first time?
I can tell you what my professional response was. I felt that some of the language violated our values. I felt that the taser violated our policy, and I felt like the neck encirclement violated the law. And that's why I sent it off to a third party to investigate. I've been a police officer for a long time. I certainly know all of the criticism of police. And was very disappointed.
Is there anything that has happened in the past to indicate any sort of pattern where perhaps other members of the Latino community have come forward to say similar things have happened to them? Have you had these types of complaints from other people?
No, I can't say that I've had any specific complaints. What I will tell you is that the values of the Englewood Police Department extend to every human being that comes through the city of Englewood.
Chief, you mentioned something like this really puts a stain on your department, even though it doesn't reflect, like you mentioned, everyone. What kind of conversations are you having internally to make sure this doesn't come again?
Yeah, I've met with all of our roll calls, gone to all of our shifts, talked to our detectives. We've held training on this type of thing, specific to, we brought in an attorney that defends police departments throughout the state for civil liability issues, and brought him in just to ask, what are some similarities? What are you seeing across the state where things become problematic for police? Those are some of the things. You know, again, I go back to this. I've got 135 people that work at the Englewood Police Department that are dedicated individuals that go out and do a very, very difficult job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's my job as the chief, when they don't act with the values and certainly within the law, but when they don't support the values of the Englewood Police Department, it's my job to take action. Nobody else.
How many officers do you have?
80 officers.
And have there been any other types of complaints like this filed before, brutality or abuse or anything like that?
I assume that we have had complaints. I couldn't tell you the last use of force complaint that I got. I don't have a specific instance for that.
And one more, because I'm a little thick-headed on this part. The driver pulled over before the officer activated his lights. Is that correct?
No.
What was the sequence there then?
The car drove by the officer pulled out, sees him run a stop sign, and activated his lights.
And then the driver pulled over.
Correct.
Chief, it's clear from some of the audio on the body cam that this officer had prior contact with this individual. Can you talk about that and whether that played any role in this?
What
I think you hear
communication?
the officer say, oh, you, as though he knows him, like he's had prior contact with him. Do you know what that prior contact was?
I do know that he had pulled that person over prior. I did not hear that on the video. I don't know what the officer was referencing, but I do know that he pulled the same driver over twice.
Do you know when that was and what that incident was?
It was in April, and it was for a traffic stop.
Was the ticket written or anything? Or?
No.
Chief, does the department have a standard practice for reviewing use of force incidents, like taser?
We do. The officers complete what they call a blue team at the end of their shift prior to going home. It's reviewed, and then we also have an internal EIRC review, and then all of those are brought to me.
Does that include body cam review?
Yes.
And how long?
Or applicable review, sure.
Yeah. How long does that process usually take from the incident?
Well, the blue team is done that night, and that's reviewed same day. We look at those same day just to see what has happened the night before or whatever. And then the EIRC meets, frankly, usually about quarterly when we get a few for them to convene and take them away from their other duties to look at those.
Do you think this incident would have been on your radar if the individual had not come forward with
Yeah, yes. The short answer is yes. These things are reviewed by our EIRC internally, and like I said, the incidents The incidents that we have had in the year that I've been here have been internally reported.
Chief, did the officer resign in the termination?
No. He was released from his probationary status.
So it was fired.
He was released from his he was a probationary officer. He had not completed his probationary status.
How long is the probationary term?
1 year.
So he never was officially hired then, is that correct?
Or he was officially hired. He just had not made it off of his year-long probationary status.
Chief, has the department filed anything with Post about his leaving his position?
It's required by post that we do, but I don't know if that's been accomplished yet. We've been working through the criminal aspect of this so far.
How did the April contacts compare and contrast with the October call?
Less violent.
How could have this been handled differently, especially when it comes to that language barrier? What would you have done in a situation like
Yeah,
that?
it's a good question. You know, the officer immediately asked for backup. As soon as he started his interaction, he asked for backup. One of the officers that was working and responding is a Spanish-speaking officer, and I just can't help but think that if we would have just taken our time, been a little bit more deliberate, been a little bit more thoughtful, waited for backup, I think that the incident would have been handled
Chief, in the body camera
in
video.
a much better way.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
In the body camera video, you can see the officer put on gloves before going around and opening the door. Obviously, I'm sure that can be for a lot of different reasons in different situations. But when you see that in this video, what does that mean?
Yeah, I am sure that anybody that watches that video would have their own view of that, their personal view. What I will tell you is, most officers, when they feel like a situation is going to turn to physical contact, whether or open up doors or be around glass or be around anything that could be potentially harmful to their hands, that they can put their gloves on for protection.
Will there be a mug shot available? I realize that the charges have been dropped in this case, and I know you guys provided some in a PDF of some kind, but if we were to ask for a mug shot of a picture that was taken immediately after he was taken into custody to show any sort of injuries, would that be the public interest to release that photo?
So mugshots are typically a matter of public record, with the exception of juveniles and things of that nature. I will inquire about the release of the mugshot with the Denver Sheriff's Office because we are not the custodian of the release of a mugshot. We don't have a mugshot database.
Why would it be Denver? Just out of curiosity. Wouldn't it be around over?
So he turned himself into the,
I think he's talking about
The driver.
oh, the,
I'm sorry, the driver.
okay, you're talking about the driver. Okay. If they were booked and he's of adult age, then that mugshot should be accessible through the sheriff. Okay, so yes, and that, are you talking about the original stop from October?
Injuries might have been apparent in a photo to show what he looked like immediately after the arrest. The driver.
Is the case closed or it's still open?
I don't know.
Is it closed and suppressed? Okay, then no, it would not be. Yeah,
And then the police officer's mugshot, that would be a Denver sheriff question?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the former Englewood police officer turned himself into the Denver Sheriff's Office booking center, so that is a record of that agency, not the district attorney's office.
Thank you.
For the district
think a
attorney,
couple more.
could I also ask just the
I think a
importance
couple
of the
more.
dash
Yep.
cam and how that was helpful to making a decision for you?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
It was for one of us.
So the dash camera was very important. It gave us really a dynamic view of the entirety of the incident. There's no sound to the dash camera, but when you put the body-worn camera together with the dash camera, you really hear and see everything in 360 degrees. So Upon careful review of the evidence in this case, both the dash camera and the body camera and interview with the victim were very important.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Do you anticipate him appearing in court and going through a trial process?
Well, we certainly anticipate him appearing in court. Whether or not there is a trial in this case would be up to him, and pending on any pretrial negotiations that we have. But he will certainly be in court.
Ashley?
I know DA spoke a little bit about the charges and why they're pressing charges, but can you talk about specifically the department's use of force policy and exactly how that was violated in this case?
A few things. Number one, our taser policy is specific to a subject actively resisting. In this case, it was my review, although he did pull his arms away at one point. When he was tasered, he was sitting in the car with a phone in his hand, which I felt violated policy. The neck encirclement is expressly prohibited by law. At that point, I felt like the most prudent thing to do was to have an independent third-party review, and that's what we did.
Do you believe the driver was resisting arrest?
He was not charged with that.
He wasn't charged with anything, right, the driver, is that right?
I'll talk about charges to the driver.
The driver was initially charged with obstruction of a police officer and some driving-related offenses. When we initially reviewed that case, we did not see probable cause or proof beyond a reasonable doubt to sustain the obstruction charge. And without testimony by then Officer Vicina, none of those charges could be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So we took very initial steps to dismiss that case based on the evidence.
So as this case proceeds forward, we will be the primary point of contact for information stemming from any future court appearances that this defendant appears in. So if there's additional questions that pop up down the road in the future, please email me at press@coda18.gov, and we will respond accordingly. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate you being here.